The killer phrase was at the end when Kimmel said, "You just don't realize it." Because you see, he's smarter than you, and he needs you to know that. And his ego can't bear that there's someone out there more famous and more influential than him. I got news for you, Kimmel. The last time you mattered, Bruce Jenner still had a
million views. Whereas, as I point out, on ABC, a massive network that comes into your home for free, that you have to make no effort to find, at best, Jimmy Kimmel can get 1.5 million. He needs to have a little self-perspective before going out there and hurling these insults, because he looks...
Freeze the frame right here. This is where the illusion finally collapses. What looks like a late-night joke gone sideways is actually something much bigger. The instant Hollywood self-declared moral referee loses control of the game. Jimmy Kimmel isn't just missing a punchline, he's slamming headfirst into the consequences of his own double standards. For years, his rapt partisan preaching in emotional monologues, presenting himself as the nation's conscience. But this time, the routine fails. The jokes don't save him, the tears don't land, and the panic in his response tells you everything you need to know. The narrative no longer belongs to him.
The other late-night host threw a hissy fit. It's too bad Tim Waltz is still grieving, or he could send them all a sack of industrial-strength tampons.
What they saw. They saw what we saw. They saw the frail elderly man who needed help getting off the stage. They're just too chicken shit to tell us about it, because they accurately deduce that he could still be the Democratic nominee, and they don't want to ding him up. Maybe you give Barbara a pass. Who gives a damn what this singer saw or says? But you know what? Jimmy Kimmel happens to be employed by ABC, which happens to have a rather large news organization. And he has been one of President Trump's most vocal critics. Where are you, Jimmy? On vacation? Not good enough. You can still use your thumbs to send out a tweet.
And then comes Greg Gutfeld, proof that comedy still works when it isn't filtered through corporate HR departments. Gutfeld didn't just challenge Kimmel, he exposed the entire late-night ecosystem for what it's become. While legacy hosts lecture from velvet chairs, Gutfeld uses humor like a crowbar, prying open the absurdity everyone else pretends not to see. This wasn't a clapback, it was a controlled detonation. The message was simple. Being funny doesn't give you immunity from criticism, especially when you've traded comedy for activism.
It was a terrible night for women, children, and for the hundreds of thousands of hard-working immigrants who cut his lawn.
It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare.
Here's where the contradiction becomes impossible to ignore. Jimmy Kimmel, the same guy whose early career thrived on shock humor, now acts as the self-appointed hall monitor of acceptable speech. He reinvented himself as a moral authority, but the second his own past and present collide, the transformation collapses. From a mansion in Los Angeles, he lectures ordinary people about values he'll never have to live under. It's not hypocrisy hidden anymore, it's hypocrisy on full display, and the audience is finally calling it out.
Last night was the 96th Academy Awards show, and while you might have missed it, there was one clear winner. No, not Oppenheimer. It was sanctimonious leftists for their lead role in pretending they are better than you. Winner number one, Jimmy Kimmel. For the fourth time, Kimmel hosted the Oscars before an adoring crowd of Hollywood stars who laughed and curried favor with the man who wore blackface so many times. Yes, some of the very same celebrities who wanted you to believe they were horrified after yours truly said in 2018 that people used to don dark makeup in order to imitate well-known black celebrities and it wasn't a big deal. Absolutely ate up the performance by Hollywood darling Mr. Kimmel, whose blackface costumes included his oft-repeated bit as basketball star Karl Malone.
Now, Karl Malone never seen no flying saucer himself, but if he do, that's going.
Then Megyn Kelly steps in, and she doesn't swing wildly, she cuts precisely. Unlike the talking points crowd, Kelly understands the media machine because she survived inside it. Her critique isn't emotional, it's structural. She zeroes in on the exact failure point, the moment Kimmel stopped treating viewers like adults and started treating them like a demographic to be guided, nudged, and corrected. That's not entertainment, that's manipulation, And she names it without blinking.
Voted against him, and guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
You know what? If I ever cry on TV, it'll be because Maroon 5 put out a new song. But that's it. You big Now,
This isn't about celebrity drama. It's about who gets to speak and who's expected to sit quietly. On one side are media elites who believe microphones are inherited, not earned. On the other are millions of viewers sick of being talked down to by people who have no idea what everyday life costs. This clash isn't ideological, it's existential. And the laughter tracks can't drown out the frustration anymore.
This past 2 weeks, they had the Kennedy Center honors the other night where Joe Biden couldn't say Dionne Warwick. He kept calling her Diane, and he didn't know who Barry Gibb was. He kept calling him Billy. You know who else was honored at the Kennedy Center? You know who else? Billy Crystal. Just FYI, do you know who once opened up the Academy Awards in full blackface?
oh,
Billy
yeah.
Crystal. Billy Crystal. And do you know who's going to be hosting the Academy Awards this year? Jimmy Kimmel. Do you know who's worn blackface repeatedly and spoken inner city sort of urban accent saying she needs to darn those socks? Jimmy Kimmel as Oprah, as a fat-suited, black-faced darning socks.
For decades, late-night hosts lived in a feedback-free zone. Safe audiences, predictable applause, zero resistance. They confused insulation with invincibility. But the internet shattered that comfort. Now, every smug monologue is met with instant pushback. When Kimmel throws punches at half the country, the response doesn't wait for tomorrow's show. It hits back immediately, online, uncensored, and unforgiving. The ring is open now, and the old champions weren't trained for this fight. Nothing humbles faster than numbers, and the numbers are brutal. As Kimmel's audience shrinks, the voices he dismisses as irrelevant are exploding in popularity. This isn't coincidence, it's correction. Viewers are abandoning sanitized rebellion for raw authenticity. They don't want slogans, they want honesty. You can't brand yourself as anti-establishment while cashing checks from the most powerful institutions on earth, and people have stopped pretending otherwise.
Late night host Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air after taking the summer off. He's missed a lot. Kimmel says if you're not vaccinated, you shouldn't get a hospital ICU bed. But I'm not sure if Jimmy was being sincere because he wasn't crying. Anyway, it's just funny hearing someone say I see you who nobody actually sees. Look, I don't want to suggest that Kimmel's show has become boring and predictable, but last night during the taping, people in the studio audience were changing the channel.
Watch the posture. Hear the tone. That smug certainty, the assumption of intellectual superiority, is exactly what drove audiences away. Kimmel doesn't want discussion. He wants submission. The problem? You can't shame people who've already seen behind the curtain. The pedestal he's standing on is sinking, and instead of stepping down, he's yelling at the crowd for not clapping hard enough. This is why independent platforms are eating legacy media alive. They say the things network television won't touch because they don't answer to the same donors, parties, or social clubs. When voices like Kelly and Gutfeld gain momentum, they pull the conversation out of studio bubbles and back into reality, where logic still matters and bad ideas don't get protected by prestige.
Morning show with Stephanopoulos into the evening Academy Awards broadcast with Kimmel and ABC elevating, the blackface lovin' Kimmel. They at the same time fired Chris Harrison, host of The Bachelor, for trying to defend one contestant on The Bachelorette for saying, gee, I know I went to this antebellum party, a couple years ago. I guess I didn't see anything wrong with it. And all he said was, are we judging her by today's standards or are we judging her by, old standards, whatever. He was basically trying to say, are we being too hard on her? Got fired. Chris Harrison has to be fired by ABC. I don't know why, because he's not a committed leftist, because he's not out there more saying all the terrible things about Republicans that Jimmy Kimmel says. So this is them saying, we get it. We're an ally, right? And I guess maybe they're trying to make up with their racist past, without ever.
What we're seeing now isn't confidence, it's fear. For decades, a small group decided what could be said, laughed at, or challenged. That era is ending, And Kimmel is reacting exactly how collapsing power always does, with anger. He's realizing too late that his authority only existed because people tolerated it. That tolerance is gone. The gates are broken, and the crowd is already inside.
He's not the worst. The Daily Show has the worst ratings. They only have 366,000 people watching that show. During the Jon Stewart years, it was over 2 million. Now it's down to 300,000. Seth Meyers, absolutely dreadful. He doesn't even have 1 million, 778,000. I mean, in network television, this is, you don't have to pay for it. It's there when you turn on your TV, you plug it in. That's a dreadful number. Greg Gutfeld on cable, which you do have to pay for, it has more than double the numbers of Seth Meyers. Jimmy Kimmel, 1.5 million averaging, also equally horrible.
The late night sermon era is over. Whether it's satire that punches up or commentary grounded in facts, the audience has moved on. This wasn't just Jimmy Kimmel losing a media skirmish, it was a system losing relevance in real time. The cameras may still roll, but the influence is fading fast. The stage is still lit, yet the spotlight has shifted, and the old guard is finally realizing it's no longer the main act.
Journalists are experiencing deep mental pain. And it's not just them. Journalists are now offering tips to deal with their disappointment, frustration, even fear. And I get it. That's normal after any loss. I'm still mad about losing World's Sexiest Man to Johnny Depp. But why would people feel fear? Maybe because their only news sources are constantly telling them Trump's going to turn America into Nazi Germany. But you know who felt actual fear during the Biden administration? People who had to ride the subway or have to buy